Hey everyone, I'm Nicole,
And I'm Gabrielle.
and we are the hosts of the Spiritual Sisters podcast.
Join us every week as we discuss all the spiritual topics like astrology, mediumship, psychic insights, and so much more.
We are often joined by others we have met along our spiritual journey who are well versed in many of these areas.
Get ready for enlightening discussions and interviews and personal experiences that we hope will expand your mind and get you thinking outside of the box.
Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or just beginning your spiritual journey, there's something here for everyone.
Check us out every Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts. See you then.
Bye!
Hi, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Soul Ecosystem Podcast. I am your host, Anna Rising, and on this podcast, we discuss all things soul contracts. I'm a professional soul contract reader, and I work with a modality that combines Jewish mysticism, astrology, tarology, and numerology to calculate the reason a person incarnated in this lifetime and what they set out to accomplish. And on today's episode, we are going to be looking into the soul contracts of two pretty big names that have been all over the news lately, Andrew Tate and Jake Paul. I don't know why I always want to say his brother's name, Logan Paul, but I keep getting confused. Jake Paul. They have been in the news because of their losses recently in their fights, and I am so excited, like giddy basically, to dive into their soul contracts with you because I have a feeling we're going to find a lot of good things. And by that, I mean I've already found so many good things that I cannot wait to share with you because it explains why they are the way they are, like soul contracts so often do. I can't wait to dive into that with you. And I'm having a hard time choosing who to dive into first. So I think we're just going to do like a side-by-side of their personalities, a side-by-side of their past life karma, and then just do it banging out two at a time. Right off the bat, as soon as I looked up their dates of birth, I'm going to tell you guys something very interesting. They both have ones in the first primary numbers of their soul contract, which means that they like to be in charge. They like to lead. No surprise. I feel like that's not a shocker for anybody. It also explains why they have such a hard time literally giving anybody space, giving anybody recognition, giving anybody credit for anything, because they're clearly operating from the negative aspect of the energy of the number one. Let me give you a rundown of who Andrew Tate is and Jake Paul, if you are not familiar. Andrew Tate was born December 1st, 1986. He is a former professional kickboxer turned online personality who gained global attention for promoting extreme misogyny, male dominance ideology, and control-based relationship dynamics. If you haven't seen any clips of the kind of stuff that he talks about, it is bad, like with a capital B. Through social media platforms and paid online communities, he has openly advocated for the emotional, financial, and social domination of women, framing them as subordinate and transactional. Andrew Tate has been arrested and formally charged by Romanian authorities in connection with allegations including human trafficking, rape, and forming an organized crime group. These cases remain ongoing, and he has publicly denied all charges. And I have heard so many teachers talk about the horrors that they have had to endure from students that listen to Andrew Tate. He's a disease. He's a disease is what it is. And a popular one at that. Moving on to Jake Paul. Jake Paul was born January 17th, 1997. He is an American internet personality, YouTuber, and professional boxer who rose to prominence during the early wave of influence culture. He initially built his platform through provocative content, pranks, and attention-driven antics that frequently drew criticism for immaturity and irresponsibility. I think it was his brother that got in trouble for a highly insensitive YouTube video in Japan where he filmed an unalive body. It was really bad. Over time, Jake transitioned into professional boxing and long-form media, attempting to reframe himself as more disciplined and self-aware. Well, now for some reason, Jake Paul is focused on challenging celebrities, big names. Up until Anthony Joshua, he was challenging people who have been retired for a long time from boxing or professional sports. If you guys remember how highly publicized his fight with Mike Tyson was, let me just tell you, leading up to the fight, there was all these clips of Mike Tyson training, and he was doing a number. He was doing a number on all of these punching bags. And then when the actual fight came, when it was time for the actual fight, you can see him holding back so much. You can see him holding back so much. And everybody was saying that it was scripted. Everybody was saying that he let Jake Paul win that. And I have a feeling he was playing it so safe because he knew that if he just put a little too much power into a swing, he would take him down so easily. So I think that's the reason it looked like he was barely touching the guy, because he's like, I need to get to a certain amount of rounds in order to get this big payout. And we see that kind of happening with Anthony Joshua, except Anthony Joshua really did not hold back after round 6. It looked like he was just like playing with his food for the first 5 rounds of the game until he absolutely reconstructed Jake Paul's jaw, or is it more so reorganized it? Are you guys ready to take a look at these soul contracts? I want to look at Andrew Tate's first because there's a lot going on there. And some of which I was like, I know one of these guys has a mother wound program. That's why there's so much hatred towards women. I heard this from a psychologist, that a lot of times narcissistic personalities develop because of a mother wound, because of a complicated mother-child relationship that results in the child hating the mother for not being a motherly figure. So based on that and based on personal experience, I was like, okay, this person probably has some mother issues. And when we look at Andrew Tate's past life karmic debt, he has the karmic debt of someone that either died early childhood or still in the womb. Therefore, he has this kind of resentment towards his parental figure and this rush to experience everything and anything in life that he can, because he's afraid that life is going to get cut short again and he's not going to be able to have a chance to live. When we take a look at Jake Paul's karmic debt, he has a karmic debt of addiction or infidelity in the family. This doesn't always mean his own infidelity, although it can predict it. It means that in a past life, he severely hurt his loved ones because of his addictions or because of his impulsive nature. And that manifests in this life as going through similar temptations, similar opportunities to either get addicted to something or either be unfaithful. And actually, I want to look up if there have been any cheating scandals with Jake Paul. And from what I just saw, there have been rumors of him being unfaithful, but nothing concrete. However, in 2017, Jake Paul publicly accused Alyssa Violet, of cheating on him and kicked her out of the Team 10 house. If that actually happened, if he did get cheated on, that's kind of where that karmic debt is kicking in, where he gets to experience that side of it since he has done that to someone else in a past life. Now, when we look at the approach to life is like a theme that people go through in their lives, and there's signs of it manifesting. It gives you a list of things that could be manifesting in your life that point to this approach actively happening in real time. Andrew Tate's approach to life is a strategy of not willing to grow up. He's the type of person that wants to find a partner to achieve some kind of status, to be like, okay, like now I matter because I'm with somebody. And he's kind of stuck in this very childlike behavior where he attracts situations where he gets betrayed. So he develops this animosity towards women. He develops a separation disorder, and he has issues with children, either having them or just cannot bond with them. Signs this is playing out: difficult relationship with his mother, having a very cold, detached, avoidant mother, being hyperprotective of your children, childlike behavior, a partner that acts more like a parent, a strong desire for your parents to accept you, feeling like an unwanted child, rejecting your children, problems with having children, resenting your parents, difficulty in expressing emotions, being irresponsible or overdemanding, desire to be the center of attention, lack of introspection, you can't make this up, and feeling guilty. When we compare that to Jake Paul and his approach to life, he has the strategy called breaking agreements. This is somebody that does not keep their word. This is somebody that is always presented with these kind of opportunities that test their integrity, that test their ethical values, and he either breaks them or just does not comply with said agreements, which is so funny that now he is whining about Anthony Joshua breaking his agreement, breaking the script, going off script. Sounds a little bit karmic to me. But signs that this is playing out: being cheated on by a partner, lacking family values, falling into addiction, betraying your partner, having a willingness to act dishonestly in order to get what you want, excessive judgment, bossing and bullying family members or loved ones, perceiving everything as black and white, manipulating others and blaming them for your suffering, having expectations that are always unmet, perceiving everything negative that happens to you as the ultimate injustice, unwillingness to forgive, breaches of agreements, and this adopting this attitude like the ends justify the means. And this could lead to actually breaking laws, like doing illegal stuff, because they have no authority. They don't take anything seriously. Now let's take a look at both of their subconscious programs. Subconscious programs are thought patterns, limiting beliefs, or blessings that you agreed to experience in this lifetime that were meant to teach you something. So here are some of the programs that immediately stand out for Andrew Tate. He has a program that, when operating from the positive, it is something of a peacemaker program. They're able to empathize for warring parties or understand conflicts and are able to de-escalate things when they're operating from a good place, when they're operating from the positive. When they're operating from the negative, you see that a person has a lot of anger issues, a lot of aggression that pops up sometimes out of nowhere. It's like something just sets this person off. And oftentimes it provokes others, maybe without even it being his intention, but it provokes other people. Next, we see Andrew Tate having a program called Public Disgrace in his subconscious programs. And what that means is that at some point in his incarnation, he's going to need a very good PR team because he will fall out of favor with the public. And we can see that happening with all of the charges that were brought against him in Romania for, I believe it was sex trafficking. Did I read that right? Human trafficking, rape, and prostitution. So yeah, I would say that puts a damper on things, although I think he still has a pretty large following. I feel like a lot of the men that follow him kind of have turned a blind eye to that, or maybe said that, oh, it's because people are out to get him for whatever. The most interesting by far program that he has in his chart, and this is, I was saving this one for last. He has more programs in his soul contract, but I wanted to bring up one more because as soon as I saw it, I'm like, this explains so much. This explains so much, because it's usually the people that are the most vocal about women not needing to have rights, about their hatred towards women, that are closeted. And he has a subconscious program in his soul contract that kind of alludes to that. Usually this program can mean one of two things. Either that person is an ally and they're able to advocate for equal rights for the LGBTQ community. But seeing as that's not really the case with Andrew Tate, I'm leaning towards the latter explanation of this, which is that he is closeted. And that explains why he's so obsessed with men and just wants women to be servants and baby machines. So if you guys had theories about that yourself, now you don't have to, now it's not a theory. Now you don't have to wonder. Now let's take a look at Jake Paul's subconscious programs, because he has a couple interesting ones. The first one being revenge. This is a person that can hold grudges. This is a person that is very outspoken about their grievances and can hold a grudge for a very, very long time. I'm talking like if somebody in kindergarten like stole your crayons, they're going to remember it for the rest of their life. And this kind of motivates him. He has this trait where he takes that kind of like grievance and lets it fuel him, lets it fuel his drive, lets it be his motivation to get what he wants to get out of life. He really takes it personally and gets really offended and just lets it fuel him for the rest of his life. He also has a program called The Best / The Worst. And this is a very interesting program because it's one of the programs I look for when I'm trying to see if there's any narcissistic qualities in a person. And this is the recipe for a narcissist, this program in and of itself, because it means that on the outside, this person behaves one way. He puts his best foot forward and presents himself as this very confident, macho man. And when you kind of get him off that stage and get to know him personally, he's completely different. I feel like only the people that have lived with him for a good amount of years know what he is like when the mask comes off, because these people are very, very good at playing a part. They're very good at playing a role, and they're not so good at being vulnerable or letting other people see them being vulnerable. So they very much are kind of like on all the time. And the person that is underneath the surface of all of this is completely opposite to who they pretend to be. And this program actually comes with a warning talking about how the negative aspects of the bearer of this program are not always immediately noticeable, but when they surface, they are quite severe, because a person that has this program is filled with a deep-seated disdain for the world and has a very negative outlook and just thinks that every offense that has ever been done to him, no matter how small, is like the worst possible offense. So I feel like that makes for a very angry individual. I want to see their year forecast for this year. I want to see the numerology for both of them for this year, because I want to see if they were kind of destined to be severely, severely humbled on national television like Jake Paul and Andrew Tate have just been. For this year, Andrew Tate's numbers are 18 and 5. And we are going to look at the negative aspects of both of those numbers and see what comes of them, if there's like any, public disgrace, mockery happening. So when it comes to the number 18, the negative manifestation of 18 is gossiping, slander, deception, fraud, betrayal, both in life and in business, illegal business. And let me touch on that real fast, because I think one of the first things that Andrew Tate said after his loss is that he lost on purpose because he bet against himself, which is him admitting to having fixed the fight, which is illegal, I'm pretty sure. So illegal business, there we go. Enemies pretending to be friends. I wonder if that alludes to the person that Andrew Tate fought against, because that person was like, oh, like, he's my role model. He got me through some hard times or whatever. But then he kicked that guy's face in. Chase Demore. That was his name. Now, in personal relationships, there's uncertainty, infidelity, even health issues, negative relationships with the women in his life, the influence of black magic. I wonder if there was any women that made a spell on him for him to lose this fight. I don't think it would take much for him to lose. I don't think they would need to resort to witchcraft. But lastly, in an 18-year when it's manifesting in the negative, there could be a possibility of depression, nightmares, deep-seated fears, and anxiety. All right, so let's take a look at the negative aspects of the number 5, because there's some interesting stuff in there. You could face public censure. Oftentimes, there are situations involving inappropriate behavior, conflict, or dispute, and a desire to defend yourself at all costs increases. There could also be problems with documents, lawsuits, or inability to obtain documents or sign contracts. There's also a possibility of scammers, frauds, or getting into a cult, getting dragged into a cult. I think Andrew Tate is his own cult. So now let's take a look at Jake Paul's numerology for this year. He has the numbers 10, 11, and 21. Manifesting from the negative, we see the following manifestations for the number 10. Very abrupt changes, either to the outside, the external, or to the internal through injury, illness, or job loss. There could be a lot of tension in business, personal life. There could be large expenses, debts, and loans. There is a possibility to get scammed. Loss of financial stability due to addiction or gambling. There's a warning for unsuccessful deals with partners, bad luck, and decreased business profits. When we take a look at the negative side of the energy of the number 11, we see lack of energy, bad health, weakness, inability to influence enemies or competitors. I kid you not. On the physical level, we have a warning for diseases, surgical interventions, depression, loss of strength, like just feeling really weak, and depression is possible. Lastly, negative manifestations of the energy of the number 21 talks about being restricted and faced with a lot of challenges that stem from your own fears and external problems. We also have problems with legal documents, very anxiety-inducing conflicts, and even accidents on the road. There could also be a problem with traveling. He might get stuck in a country because of issues with documents, and that is his numerological forecast for this year. So as far as this year goes, it's very karmic for both of them. Anytime you're operating from misalignment, the universe kind of goes out of its way to try and get you back on path. Unfortunately, some people are more stubborn, and we will see if getting their face punched in on national television will help them get off of the ego boost, kind of come back to earth and kind of restructure their priorities. But we will see. It takes a while for some people. I feel like that sums up their soul contracts very well. I do not often see the ally program that talks about a person specifically being a good ally towards the LGBTQ community or being closeted. Like, that doesn't pop up often. But when it does pop up, I've seen it pop up in a few celebs. I want to say like 2 or 3, one of them being Michael Jordan. And I immediately asked my husband, because he's obsessed with Michael Jordan, is Michael Jordan an ally? And I actually we both found several articles that talked about the work that he has done for the LGBTQ community. You guys should look it up because it's pretty amazing, and it points to this specific program being pretty on point. And given that I don't think Andrew Tate is an ally, we're going to just assume that this program is swinging the other way for him. And I think we'd be assuming correctly. So that's basically it. We have found a lot of themes, a lot of patterns here for both Andrew Tate and Jake Paul. And I think it's exceptionally ironic that Jake Paul is now whining about Anthony Joshua not sticking to his agreement when Jake Paul's entire soul contract is about not breaking agreements. And Andrew Tate's entire soul contract is about growing up. So it's also ironic that Jake Paul very closely resembles Glass Joe, which is from Mike Tyson Nintendo game, and he was like the first opponent that you had to fight, and it was very easy to beat him because he had a glass jaw and it was easy to knock him out. I think that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening and going on this journey with me and finding out the innermost workings of Andrew Tate and Jake Paul and the motivation behind everything that they do. I think that was very spot on. If you guys were interested in getting your own soul contracts read, you can do so by visiting thesoulecosystem.com or going to my Etsy shop, The Soul Ecosystem, and booking a soul contract call or getting the call and the soul contract. Otherwise, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I hope you guys have a wonderful winter break, a wonderful New Year's, and a great weekend.